3 years ago, I made my first ever game, Gunk. It's a VR game where you pick up and throw rocks at gunks. The only problem is that it's really bad. But over the last few years since making Gunk, I've gotten a lot better at making games. So today, I'm going to be remaking Gunk, but in only 48 hours, which would be doable, except for one issue. I haven't made a VR game in literally years. So for the remake, I decided to set up a first-person player controller instead, which is technically more gameplay than the original game, but it does mean that I'll have to rework all of the VR mechanics into a non-VR game, which is a bit of a problem, but I'll worry about that later because the next thing that I need are the gunks. And Gunk in the original game is a horrifying creature that is also somehow really shiny. Probably because I had no idea what I was doing at the time. So I made a new model for Gunk that actually kind of looks like a person and added him into the game. And now Gunk just stands there. Menacingly. Now, in the original game, Gunk would just walk back and forth, which somehow took me multiple days to figure out how to do. But now that I do kind of know what I'm doing, I think I could make something a lot better. I have done the impossible, and I have given Gunk intelligence. He knows that I'm a threat, and he follows after me. He seems to be floating, though. I don't know how he's doing that. I can't really do anything yet. I can kind of push him around, though. And he's spinning. Oh, God. He's learning new attacks. Take this. Oh, knocked him over. He's flying away. I froze Gunk's physics rotation to stop him from spinning, which I still have no idea how he was able to do. I don't even think it should be physically possible. But now, instead of walking in a straight line, like in the original game, Gunk will walk in a straight line towards the player, which I see as a massive improvement. Except Gunk is currently stuck in a T-pose, which is a little bit terrifying, so I should probably add some animation. To animate Gunk in the original game, I just downloaded a walk animation from Mixamo. But since making that game, I have become a bit of a professional 3D animator, thanks to this 3D animation class I took in university. I don't actually know why it's animated so fast. It just does this. So, to animate the new Gunk, I went to Mixamo and I stole an animation. And now I have this perfect animation for Gunk. Where is he going? So, for some reason, Gunk seems to have stopped walking on the ground and also seems to have rejected the animation I gave him. Gunk, what are you doing? Which makes this the second time Gunk has broken the laws of physics. I spent like an hour trying to figure out how this is even happening. Hopefully this tutorial helps me learn. It's a little bit loud. His feet are in the ground, but it's working a little bit. This shouldn't be happening, but whatever. And I started to think that maybe Gunk just does this somehow. Fingers crossed he's not flying this time. That doesn't work. But eventually, I figured out that all I needed to do was check these settings in the animation, and now Gunk actually walks on the ground, like a normal person. But even though the animation is working now, there is still a problem. Gunk is unstoppable. Oh no, he's coming after me. Stay back. There's literally nothing I can do to stop him. Which means that I need to add weaponry. In the original game, you defeated Gunks by throwing rocks at them. But because the original game was in VR, you had to physically pick up and throw the rocks, which isn't gonna work in this version of the game. So I made a new rock model in Blender and turned it into a projectile that you can launch with physics, which means that I now have a weapon that I can use against Gunk. Stay back! I'll open fire! I warned you! Take this! Die! He's not stopping! Oh wait! Oh no, I stopped him. No, I didn't. He's still coming. So the rock can't actually damage Gunk, and Gunk also can't damage the player. When you collide with Gunk, all that happens is that you start kissing, which is pretty psychologically damaging, but not very physically damaging. So I made a health system so that the rock can actually damage Gunk, and made a ragdoll version of Gunk that will spawn when Gunk is defeated. Gunk is dead! I can't believe he's gone. We had so many good times. You know, like that time you turned yourself into an industrial propeller. And now that Gunk can die, I also need a way for new Gunks to be created. And in the original Gunk, they were stored in these Gunk storage containers for some reason, and then would spawn around the corner out of sight. But since this version of the game doesn't have any corners, I can't really do that, which means that I need to come up with a brand new spawning system, which after some planning, I did. I made a spawning script that will spawn Gunks in a radius around the player, 100 meters in the sky, which is great because then I don't have to worry about Gunks spawning in the player's view. You know, unless you look up, but who really does that? The original Gunk spawned enemies in waves, but for this game, I decided to have the Gunks endlessly spawn so that they can build up massive hordes for you to fight. In the original game, there was only one type of gunk, because at the time, that's really all I could figure out how to do. I mean, I could barely even figure that out. But now that I have some more experience, I want to actually add some more enemy types to the game, starting with the crawling gunk, which is pretty much just regular gunk, but you know, he crawls. I also made a short gunk by performing a leg shortening operation on gunk, which kind of makes it look like I'm throwing rocks at children, but he's just short, all right? He's not a child. I would never throw rocks at children. Maybe a really ugly child that nobody loves, but that's the limit. He's also technically identical to the regular gunk, except he's just short. But that means that I now have 3 unique enemy types instead of the one boring enemy type from the original game. I mean, every gunk literally just did the same thing. And now every gunk, you know, still technically does the same thing, but some of them look a little bit different, which I personally see as a positive thing. And that is the first day of development complete. And I think I've done a pretty good job of recreating most of the original game. Well, except for the level. But before I get to that, there's one big change I want to make from the original game, which is an official release on Steam. Gunk was the first game I ever made, so I think it should also be the first game I ever put on Steam. But that means that I'm gonna have to make an even better game, since the original Gunk is nowhere near good enough for a Steam release. And the only thing that I actually know about publishing a game to Steam is that you need to pay $100 to put your game on the platform, which I accidentally already did while I was setting up my account before doing this challenge, so I'm in unknown territory here. Luckily, Steam gives you a step-by-step checklist of everything you need to do to publish your game. It's just, you know, pretty long. So when I woke up the next morning, I started going down the list. I set the name of the game and then went through Steam's tagging wizard to set the genre and tags of the game. And this part is really important because the tags are what Steam uses to recommend your game to players. So you really want to make sure that they're accurate. Action adventure, beat 'em up, action roguelike, arena shooter, 3D, first person, emotional, horror, survival, zombies, PvE, single player. That sounds perfect to me. The next step is to write a description, which is just as important as the game's tags, since it's how players will decide if they actually want to play your game. And the best practice here is to be descriptive and try to explain your game's gameplay in a pretty simple and easy to understand way. In the world of Gunk, the only thing between you and total anti-halation, I think I spelled that wrong, are sheer determination and lots of rocks. From the creator of Gunk comes Gunk, a total reimagining of the hit Gunk-type game Gunk. Gunk has everything you know and love from Gunk, including Gunk, but Gunk also has even more, including more Gunks, such as the short Gunk and crawling Gunk. I think that's pretty good. After writing that perfect description, my Steam page is now visible. Well, technically, it's only visible to me, which is actually probably a good thing considering it's still completely empty. And that's because the next thing that I need to add are the game's screenshots and the store's art assets. But I'm not really sure my game's ready for that yet. So before I can finish the game's Steam page, I need to work on the level for the game. And I have just about 24 hours to do that, finish the game, and publish it to Steam, which isn't a lot of time, but if I spend my time right, it should be doable. The original Gunk takes place in a small town, which is really all I could manage to do at the time. I mean, the house is literally just a cube that I painted over. But over the last few years, I've made a lot more levels, and I think I've gotten a lot better. So I should be able to make something a bit more interesting. So, what do you think? I mean, it's not finished yet, but I'm already starting to see the improvements. I think I'll just spend a little bit more time decorating the level to finish it, which I don't think should take too long. It's finished. I decorated the level by adding some grass and trees, and then added a street and some houses. Now, I may have used some old assets to make this level, and is that cheating? I mean, maybe, but who cares, okay? I've been making this level for 12 hours. Plus, it's not all copied, all right? This is an original house model, mostly because the original one was terrible, and I haven't actually made any other house models since then, but it still counts. But at least the level looks pretty good. It just took 12 hours to make. And that means that I only have about 8 hours to actually finish the game. But at least the good news is that I can now finish setting up my game's Steam page. And the first thing to do is take some screenshots, which are one of the first things that players will see on your page, and it's how they decide if your game actually looks interesting, which is why I made sure to take the best possible screenshots. And next, I need to make the actual store assets for the game. And the important thing to remember when making these is that you really want to convey quality and make it look like you really care about the game by putting in as much effort as possible. And boom, they're done. That wasn't really that hard. Only took me about 10 minutes. I just did a quick photo shoot with Gunk and then edited all the assets in Photoshop, and they look perfect. The last thing I need to do before I can publish the game is to finish the game and also make a trailer, which I can't do until I finish the game. And there is still a lot to do. I mean, I don't even have an ending to the game yet. And with less than 8 hours left, it's gonna be close. But first, I wanna let you know that you can download this entire game project on my Patreon, where you can also play early access builds of my games, suggest features and ideas, and I've also just published an exclusive video where I react to this video and explain in more detail the process of making Gunk. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, so if any of that sounds interesting, go check it out. For the next week, you can get 50% off of of your first month, and the first 10 people to sign up with the first link in the description will get their first month for completely free. But if you're not interested, you better subscribe, because I've been stuck on 199k for like months at this point. Probably because I haven't uploaded in months, but I'm doing my best, okay? Thank you to everyone who's decided to help support these videos, and now it is time to finish Gunk. But as I was testing the game, I realized there really isn't that much to do in the game, which is a pretty bad problem to have with less than 8 hours of development left. Which is why I decided to take an idea from a game that I've been playing quite a lot recently, Mega Bong. You know, because our games are both pretty similar, both in concept and quality. So now, by killing gunks, you can get XP and level up. And the XP required to level up will scale with your level thanks to this math equation that I found in the comments of the tutorial that I was watching. I have literally no idea how this works, but it seems to do a good job, so thank you, random internet commenter. But the problem is that when you level up, nothing happens. So I made a bunch of upgrades, like increasing your health, your throw speed, or the size of your rock. I honestly have no idea if this is helpful, but I mean, come on, it's big rocks. It's cool. And when you level up, you can choose from 3 random upgrades, which I think is a completely original take on the idea. If you look here at Megabok, the upgrades are vertical, and in Gunk, the upgrades are horizontal. Completely original. You might have also noticed that every upgrade has the same icon, and that's because I may have completely forgotten to make any other icon for other upgrades. In my defense, I was running out of time, and I think my brain was starting to deteriorate from sleep deprivation, which I'm sure won't have any devastating consequences in the last few hours of development. But at this point, the 2 days were almost over, and I still need an ending for the game. In the original Gunk, when you win the game, the Gunks, just dance, which is also the same thing that happens when you lose the game. I'm not really sure why I chose to do this, but for the new game, I want to make the ending an actual ending. So I decided to add a boss fight at the end of the game, which is just a really big gunk. But since my 2 days are almost up, I didn't really have any time to give him any cool attacks. So he's kind of just really big, and that's it. So I somehow accidentally made a loop that infinitely spawns giant gunks, but I mean, who hasn't? Plus, I was super sleep deprived at this point, so I think it's a pretty understandable mistake to make. But I was able to fix the issue, so I shouldn't have to deal with any more infinite gunk spawners. The boss will spawn after you hit level 10, and after defeating him, you'll get a cinematic ending. So I might have completely forgotten to add any menus or even a pause screen to let you leave the game. So when you beat the game, you are kind of stuck here forever. And unfortunately, it's a little bit too late for me to fix the issue, but I guess if a Steam employee gets trapped in the game while reviewing it, then they kind of do have to accept it. Anyway, I only have a couple hours left, and I still need to make a trailer to finish my Steam page and publish my game. So I recorded some gameplay and then spent minutes editing a trailer and even longer finding the perfect music to match the gameplay. And in the end, I was able to create this masterpiece. And with the trailer done, I uploaded it to Steam, and then I built my completely finished and working game in Unity and sent it over to Steam for review. And now I just have to wait for someone at Steam to review my game in store page and to prove it to be published, which, you know, I'm sure they will. I mean, they're going to be trapped in the game forever, so they'll have to approve it. So the heretics at Steam decided to reject my game. So the store presence, failure, game build, failure, which surprisingly had nothing to do with the lack of menus. Your store page has failed our review because the written description doesn't fully explain what features and content a customer can expect to be included with their purchase. We would like to see some more details about the gameplay and features. I guess they just didn't like the description I wrote. I thought it was pretty comprehensive, but I guess the only way to get my game approved now is to come up with a better description. But I don't want to take any chances. So I decided to do some research on other similar games. This one looks pretty good. And after editing the description, I resubmitted my game and I waited. And after 5 long days, I checked my account and the game was approved. And now all I need to do to publish my game is hit the big green button. Boom. Okay, and if I search gunk, it's there. Wait, what? There's an imposter. God damn it, someone came up with this idea before me. Let's see what this imposter gunk is all about. Electric Boogaloo presents based on true events. Oh my god. Why is it so cinematic? Oh my god. How am I gonna compete with this? This is like a cinematic masterpiece. Gunk. This gunk was made by it looks like it was made by like 4 different universities. And by Sweden? Is that actually Sweden? It is Sweden. What the heck? Sweden made Gunk? So the competition might be a little bit stronger than I thought. Okay, so now, apparently, Gunk is competing with the entire country of Sweden. But the good news is that my game isn't technically published yet. The store page is public, but apparently, Steam doesn't actually let you release your game for another 2 weeks. But because I have an extra 2 weeks, I decided to spend them updating the game so that I can beat the other Gunk's review score of 75%. But to do that, I'm gonna need to make a game better than multiple universities and the entire nation of Sweden. And I've only got 2 weeks. Except I may have wasted a week playing video games. So really, I only have 1 week. But in my defense, Deadlock is pretty addicting. So I started by fixing all of the things that I wasn't able to finish in the first 2 days of development, like making unique icons for all of the upgrades and actually adding menus. I also added a bit of juice to the rock by adding damage numbers and critical hits, but after polishing everything that I already added to the game, I realized that as you level up and get upgrades, the number of gunks stays the exact same. So as you get stronger, the game just gets a lot easier since it's pretty much only balanced when you're level 1. So to fix the problem, I added a difficulty multiplier that will increase with your level, and I created a curve to control the enemy spawning. The x-axis is your current level, and the y-axis is the number of enemies to spawn. So thanks to this curve, the game should gradually get more difficult and chaotic as you level up, and should stay pretty fair. Okay, I know this looks bad. This is the second time that I've accidentally made a loop that spawns infinite gunks, and this time I'm not even sleep deprived. But in my defense, I don't really know what I'm doing. There's no way I'm beating Sweden. But after eventually fixing the enemy spawning, I realized that I created a new problem. The rock isn't really that great against massive hordes of enemies, so by scaling the enemy spawning with your level, eventually the gunks will just completely overpower you, and there's nothing you can do. Which is why I decided to make some power-ups that can spawn after defeating a gunk. You know, it's kind of crazy that me and Megabunk both had the same idea. I guess we're just both really good game developers with really good original ideas. The first power-up I made will remove the throw cooldown for your rock, so you can just spam projectiles to clear out hordes of gunks. And the second power-up will turn your rocks into bombs, which just obliterate everything in the area. And both power-ups can work together if you get them at the same time, which might be a little bit overpowered, but who cares, it's fun. But as I was having fun throwing bombs at all of these gunks, I started to feel like the game was missing something. So I created the flying gunk. Except I haven't really figured out the flying part yet, and that's because they're using the same AI as all of the other gunks, which just moves them towards the player. So I made a new flying enemy AI script, which seems to be working better. And now, I actually think the game is in a pretty good state, but if I want to beat Gunk, I need to do even more. So I also decided to make an endless mode, because right now, once you beat the boss, the game ends, and you have to restart if you want to keep playing. So now, once you beat the boss in the main mode, you unlock endless mode, where you have to try and survive for as long as possible. I also made a score system so you can see your high score, and also added a timer. And now, the last thing that I want to add to the game are achievements. But I only have a few days left before the launch date, and I have no idea how to do that. But after some research, I found out that you just create them through the Steam dashboard. So I started making some achievements for Gunk. All I have to do is set the name of the achievement and also add an image for when the achievement is locked and unlocked. But this only adds the achievements in Steam. To actually unlock the achievements in the game, I need to program that using the Steam API. But unfortunately, the Steam API uses the C++ programming language and Unity uses the C# programming language. But luckily, FacePunch have an open source C# translation of the Steam API that works with Unity. So I just set up the Steam API in my project using the FacePunch implementation, and now I can unlock achievements in my game by just calling a function. And not to brag or anything, but I am actually a top 0.1% Gunk player, which is a little bit confusing since I'm the only one with access to the game, so I think it should say 100%. I guess there are just 1,000 Steam employees currently playing the game. Maybe after the first employee got trapped in the game, they just kept sending more in to help, and now there are just 1,000 Steam employees currently trapped in my game. But now, the game is pretty much done. But there is still one more thing to do before I release the game. When I was first setting up the game's Steam page, I'll admit, I didn't take it super seriously. Emotional. There we go. Horror, zombies, emotional survival. So I decided to update my Steam page by going through the tagging process again, updating the description, and making a completely new gameplay trailer to give Gunk the best possible chance of beating Gunk. I also decided to check how many wish lists the game has gotten since I published the store page, since they're a pretty good indication of how well your game will do. And after almost 2 weeks of my store page being up, I have just under 100, which I don't think's that bad, but after looking it up, the recommended amount of wish lists before release is around 5 to 10,000. But you know, I'm kind of close. But just as I was getting ready to release the game, I gave it a test and realized that there are a lot of bugs.
Did I win?
Okay, there's a bug, I think. He said negative 1,000 health. and a lot of the features that I added just weren't working. And if I can't figure out how to solve this before the deadline, then my chances of beating Gunk are near zero. So I spent the last couple of days testing the game and fixing as many bugs as possible. And I think I was able to fix most of them, but it's now launch day, which means that it's time to release the game. So hopefully there aren't any game-breaking bugs that I wasn't able to fix. So all I have to do is hit this button and Gunk is published for the entire world to play. And I'm pretty sure everyone will play it because this is like the greatest game to ever be created. In 3, 2, 1, release app. Okay, wait, there's a little bit more I need to do, I guess. And boom, release my app. And boom. Your application is now visible on the Steam store. Hopefully people play the game and enjoy it. I mean, I think it's kind of fun. After publishing the game, I opened the game's dashboard to check and see how many people were playing. Players in game, 8,292,792 is what I thought. But apparently this is just every player on Steam. I have to scroll down a bit to see the player numbers for Gunk. Peak players, 1. But, you know, the game just came out, so I'm sure more people will start playing eventually, and I bet that one player is having the best gaming experience of their entire life. I decided to not look at the game for a bit, and I came back 24 hours later to see how the game was doing. Whoa! 5,000 total units. 100 unique lifetime users. Okay, so 5,000 people have downloaded it, 100 people have played it. And since the game was released, it got 9 reviews, which technically isn't enough to have a review score. Oh, I don't have enough reviews to even have a rating. I'll get there eventually. But if you look at the reviews, all 9 of them are positive, which not only means that my Gunk beat the other Gunk's review score of 75%, making it the best Gunk, but also makes Gunk like the best reviewed game of all time. I mean, you literally can't get better than 100%. Really, really funny and fun until I glitched out of the map. Then I figured out how to fly. It was funny again. This guy learned how to fly. I didn't know you could do that. What? So there were some bugs that I missed, but I put out an update the next day that fixed all of the bugs that were found. And as the days went on, more people played the game and left reviews. Right now, the game has around 50 reviews and over a 90% review score, which I think is really cool, but it's not what I'm the most proud of. Since making my first game, I've been almost ashamed of it, as if it proves my own insecurities of not being good enough. How can I call myself a game developer when this is the sum of all my effort? I initially decided to remake Gunk to try and prove that I can make something better, but now I realize that's not what matters. And after spending time studying the game and remaking it, I can look back and appreciate it for what it was and feel proud of what I've been able to do since then. And who knows what I'll be able to do in another 3 years, because one day we'll all look back at where we started and be amazed by how far we've come.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this.
And in my case, I've come a pretty long way. I'll see you in the next one.